أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين. The first asl, the first root of religion, asl min usul ad-din, is tawheed. And we say that everything in our religion ultimately goes back to this one concept, and that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one in every sense. In every way possible, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one. He is one in essence, one in His attributes. He is the only one that judges, the only one that gives sustenance. And ultimately, when we go down the list, we find that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one in worship. And when we say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one in worship, we mean that only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is to be worshipped, because only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the right to be worshipped. And only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala carries the characteristics that the one that is to be worshipped must have. And this issue, my brothers and sisters, this point is one that the Muslimin have had consensus over, and there's no discussion. But when it comes to the idea of tawassul, intercession, and when it comes to the idea of shafa'ah, turning to Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, istighatha, turning towards Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam and calling upon them, Ya Ali, help me. Ya Rasulullah, aid me. Ya Hussein. That's where the two sides differ. Where we are constantly accused that by calling upon Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, especially in these nights, Ya Ali, and as our family, as our parents have constantly taught us, say Ya Ali. By calling upon Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, you are committing shirk. Especially in today's day and age, when social media has taken over our lives, and we are solely dependent in many cases on social media and our phones and our screens for our information. Information as to what is happening around the world today, and our own information and what we want to learn about as Muslims and as individuals living in our communities, especially when it comes to our aqa'id. And so you find our youth are on TikTok and Instagram and Reels and going through the different videos, and all of a sudden, a scholar from the other side pops up and in a 30-second video tries to dispute or accuse or speak about an issue of aqa'id, beliefs, and accuse us of shirk and the likes. And so when it comes to these topics, my brothers and sisters, it's extremely important on all of us not to take these videos and upon them base an idea. Rather, these ideas, these issues are a matter of discussion, are a matter of academic debate, and shouldn't be diluted to such a point where we're taking our aqa'id in these 30-second videos where there's music in the background and there's special effects that more or less play on the emotions of the person watching them. And so tonight, my brothers and sisters, I want to discuss this issue and ask the question, is calling upon Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam shirk? Am I committing shirk when I say, Ya Rasulullah, when I say, Ya Ali, when I say, Ya Hussein, Ya Hassan, Ya Fatima? Is this considered to be shirk? Am I breaking the first rule of religion, and that is to be a muwahhid, one that observes oneness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? I want to answer this question, my brothers and sisters, by answering two questions, as we always do. The first question, my brothers and sisters, is what is the definition of worship? When we talk about shirk, We're talking about worshiping other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what's the meaning of worship? The second question is, when we say Ya Ali, is it actually worship or not? And in front of me I have my brothers from the Hawza, and I would like to welcome them, and I'm nobody to be sitting in front of them. But as they say, it's good to remind ourselves and we remind each other. So in an academic way, in an Hawzawi way, we want to look at this issue from a kubra, a bahth kubrawi. Then we move on to al-bahth al-sughrawi. We want to talk about first defining the premises that we are going to be using when we discuss this issue. When we define the parameters, we understand where we are, then we go down and we apply what we defined and see. When we say Ya Ali, is it actually worship? So first, what is worship? Second, when I call upon Amir al-Mu'mineen, am I worshipping him? Let's begin with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. أحسنتم. First question, what is the definition of worship? Whenever we want to discuss a term that is used in religious subjects, in religious contexts, let's go back to the linguistic meaning. And from the linguistic meaning, we will find the link between what we are discussing and what we are saying within this context, worship within the religious context, with the context that we are talking about now, and the connection between that and the linguistic meaning. When we come to the Arab, when we come to Arabs, when we come to Arabic scholars, they try to define worship in many different ways. And they've differed on the meaning of worship. Some scholars, they said, Al-ibada hiya al-khudu'. Worship is merely humility. Ibn Baz chooses this definition. He says, Al-ibada, worship is merely what? Humility. Showing humility towards something or someone and being humble towards it. Az-Zamakhshari, he says, no. Ibadah is not merely humility. Rather, it is muntaha al-khudu', the highest levels of humility and humbleness. So let's look at these two definitions and see what we can derive from them. Let's look at them and analyze them. As for the first one, the one that Ibn Baz chose, humility. There are many, many problems that come about if we try to define worship as merely humility. Number one, no monotheist, no muwahhid will live on this earth from now to the day of judgment. Monotheism, tawheed, goes out the window if we define ibadah as mujarrad khudu', humility. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, my brothers and sisters, has programmed us as human beings to show humility and be humble in front of material and spiritual perfection. And that's why you see the student, when he looks at his teacher or her teacher, they are humble in front of them. They show humility towards them. Similarly, when the weak looks up at the strong, they show humility towards them. Especially if the strong person on the stronger side is a tyrant, they will show utmost humility out of fear of their harm. And in many different dynamics we see that one side is showing humility towards the other, and it's part of human nature. And so to say that worship is merely humility means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has programmed human beings to be polytheists. When the fact of the matter is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what does He say in the Quran? فِطْرَةَ اللَّهِ الَّتِي فَطَرَ النَّاسَ عَلَيْهَا. I have programmed you to be monotheists, not polytheists. Number one. Number two, we find that in nature there are hierarchies. As in, if we go to the wild, forget human nature and what we see in society amongst us as human beings. Let's go to the wild. We see in the wild there are different hierarchies at play, where the leader of the pack, the alpha of the pack, is one is the one with the most strength, and everyone beneath the alpha shows humility towards the one on top. And no one comes and says these hierarchies are hierarchies of worship. No one looks at a wolf pack and says this hierarchy that I see in front of me is a worship hierarchy. No, this is just the way that nature works. No one defines this type of hierarchy as a worship hierarchy. Number 2. Number 3, when we go to the Quran itself, we see that the Quran opposes this very term or this very definition. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, when speaking about al-walidain, parents, and how a person should behave with their parents, what does he say? He says, وَاخْفِضْ لَهُمَا جَنَاحَ الذُّلِّ مِنَ الرَّحْمَةِ وَقُلْ رَبِّ ارْحَمْهُمَا كَمَا رَبَّيَانِي صَغِيرًا. And show humility towards them. It's as if he's saying, bow down to your parents. Show utmost humility towards your parents and respect. And ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and say, Ya Allah, have mercy on them the same way they had mercy on me when I was young. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, be humble towards your parents. Have humility towards your parents. Show your humiliation in front of them. And be that little child in front of your parents, even if you have a white beard. Even if you're stronger than them. Even if you have more ability than them. Show humility towards them. Is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asking us to worship our parents? Although we are showing humility towards them. Similarly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, man yartadda minkum an dinihi, fasawfa ya'ti Allah biqawmin yuhibbuhum wa yuhibbunahu, adhillatin ala al-mu'minin, a'azzatin ala al-kafirin. O you who believe, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, know if you leave this religion, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring forth an ummah, will bring forth mu'mineen that Allah loves and they love Him. What are the characteristics of these mu'mineen? أَذِلَّةٍ عَلَى الْمُؤْمِنِينَ عَزَّ عَلَى الْكَافِرِينَ. They are what? Humble amongst each other. And so if the mu'min is humble towards his brother mu'min, is he worshipping him? Absolutely not. And so we see that definition falls apart right when you analyze it. Makes no sense. طيب, let's move on to Zamakhshari. Zamakhshari comes forward and says, no, I noticed these problems. So I'm going to say that worship is the highest levels of humility. Muntaha al-khudu'. This definition is better than the first one, but there's also a problem. What's the problem with this definition? My brothers and sisters, humility is shown through action. Humility is one of those things that is shown through action. And so when someone wants to show the highest levels of humility, they will commit an act that brings forth and shows that humility and brings it essentially forth into the outside world. Jayyid? And so if I find an act that is the highest level of humility, then always that act will be an act of worship. In mantiq we say, بَيْنَهُمَا تَسَاوِي. There's a direct relationship at that point between an act of ultimate humility and an act of worship. Jayyid? When we move on, we say, طيب. In that case, if a person was to do sujood, which is the ultimate act of humility, in accordance to what we just said, that act, sujood, must always be what? Worship. Because there's the direct relationship between the two, according to the premise that we just put forth. But we find that worship, or rather prostration, sujood, in some circumstances is what? Worship. And prostration, sujood, in other circumstances is not worship. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Holy Quran, He says, وَإِذْ قُلْنَا لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ اسْجُدُوا لِآدَمَ. And when we told the malaika, the angels, to prostrate in front of Adam, rather prostrate to Adam, They prostrated, except Iblis. If there was a direct relationship between what shows ultimate humility and worship, then you would have found that this sujood towards Adam had to be what? Defined as worship. Does it make sense that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that based this entire religion on monotheism, worshipping none other than God, tells the malaika, worship Adam? More than this, Nabi Yusuf alayhi salam, what does the Quran say? The Quran says, إذ قال يوسف لأبيه يا أبت إني رأيت أحد عشر كوكبا والشمس والقمر رأيتهم لي ساجدين. This was a dream. After some time, this dream became a reality. And Nabi Yusuf alayhi salam stood in front of whom? His very father. His father and his brothers prostrated to him. Were they worshiping him? We see that this direct relationship that Az-Zamakhshari is claiming to exist falls apart upon examination. And so the question is asked again. What is worship? We will answer inshaAllah with the salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And in Hawzawi terms, as we have some of our Hawza brothers here, we say, ما هو المدار في العبادة? What makes ibadah ibadah? What makes worship worship? For sure it's not the act itself, because we saw that there are actions done in some circumstances they are considered worship, and then in other circumstances they are not considered worship. What did I just say? Circumstance. What creates a circumstance? The variables and factors outside, but the person acting also is one of the variables that creates the circumstance. Jayyid. What in the person, the worshipper, creates that circumstance? An-niyya, intention, wal-i'tiqad, and belief. That this person is intending to worship this thing, this God, this deity, whatever it may be, with the belief that this thing that I'm worshiping has the ability to benefit me and harm me. So what makes worship worship is the intention and the belief that this thing has the ability to benefit me and harm me. So one act can be worship, and that very same act is not worship in another circumstance. A person can do sujood in front of the shrine of the Amir alayhi salam. In one circumstance, it could be worship towards Amir al-Mu'mineen. And in another circumstance, depending on the intention, depending on the belief, the i'tiqad, it wouldn't be worship. And that's why, my brothers and sisters, our ulama, when they came to fiqh, jurisprudence, they said jurisprudence as a whole is split into two. The first one is what? Ibadat. The second group of ahkam is what? Mu'amalat. What is the differentiating factor between al-ibadat and mu'amalat? Ibadat is the acts of worship. Mu'amalat are the transactional ahkam, rulings. What is the defining factor between the two? The intention. The intention that this is an act of worship towards the God that I believe holds harm and benefit towards me on an independent level. And the defining factor, as we said, is that niyyah, the intention. And that's why our ulama, they say, a person, a boy or a girl that is not mumayyiz, does not differentiate between the act of worship and another act, to him praying is the same way as playing soccer. Does not have the ability to differentiate because their mental maturity is not there yet. The ibadah, worship, cannot actually be done by them. Why? Because that one factor that makes worship, they cannot do. They're not mentally mature enough to do. So my brothers and sisters, what makes worship, as we said, is the belief. that this individual holds ultimate benefit and harm. We understood the premise. Al-Kubra is clear. Now let's go to As-Sughra. When we come to Amir al-Mu'mineen, to Ahl al-Bayt alayhim as-salam, and we say, Ya Ali, Ya Rasulullah, Ya Fatima, are we worshipping them? Let's apply what we just learned. When I say Ya Ali, when I say Ya Muhammad, Ya Fatima, for his love, sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Do I believe that they hold ultimate independent harm or benefit towards me? I'm using them or I'm calling upon them for help. But do I believe that Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam has the ability to help me or harm me without Allah Ta'ala's qudra, without Allah Ta'ala's ability, without Allah Ta'ala's permission? Absolutely not. And so it's not considered to be worship. Rather, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us, has told me and you, that if you want to get close to me, use those that I have placed on this earth as a pathway towards me. And through them you will get to me. And that's why when I go to Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, when I visit the grave of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, am I seeking closeness to Ali bin Abi Talib? Am I seeking closeness to the rock? Am I seeking closeness to the gold? No. I'm seeking closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The only reason I went to Amir al-Mu'mineen and asked him for my need and called upon him is because he exemplified what it meant to be a servant of Allah. He exemplified what it means to be a abd, a true servant of Allah, and that's why I went to him. His connection to Allah is what brought me to him, not because he is beside Allah as a God. When we say Ya Ali, when we say Ya Rasulullah, it's not shirk. We got it wrong. It's the opposite of shirk. It's tawheed in its purest form. Because I only went to them because I believed in the oneness of God. I only went to them because I believed in the oneness of God. And here I remember a story. One of our ulama, وَلَعَلَّهُ السَّيِّدْ عَبْدُ الْحَسَنِ شَرَفُ الدِّينِ. It is said that he was invited to Mecca. And when Sayyid went to Mecca, he was respected by the Arabs. He was respected even by our Sunni brothers and sisters. And so when he went to Mecca, he had with him a Quran. And the Quran had, the riwayah says, the narration says, yeah, it had a leather backing to it. It was a leather Quran. So when he went to Mecca, he sat beside the Malik or the Mufti at the time. And he gave him the Quran as a present. And so the Mufti took the Quran and he kissed it, as we all do. So Sayyid Abdul Hassan looks at him and he said, "You kissed the Quran. Isn't that shirk?" He said, "No. I only kiss it for what is inside the two leather, the ghilaf, the two leather skins." He said, "Yes, and when I go to Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam and I kiss his grave, I don't kiss the grave because I believe the rock has any power or I believe that the rock is God. No, I kiss it because I believe in the value of what is inside that grave." Just the same way that you're not worshiping the leather by kissing it, I'm not worshiping Ali by kissing his grave. The other side, what do they argue? If we want to be true academics, let's see what the other side is saying. What are the arguments that the other side are bringing forth? They go to the Quran and they read verses such as these. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. وَلَا تَدْعُ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ مَا لَا يَنْفَعُكَ وَلَا يَضُرُّكَ فَإِنْ فَعَلْتَ فَإِنَّكَ إِذًا مِنَ الظَّالِمِينَ. They say, Allah Ta'ala in the Quran says, "And do not call upon what cannot benefit you or harm you, for if you do, surely you will be from the oppressors." And so they say, Allah Ta'ala is saying, don't call. Don't call. We say, no problem. But did you read the other verses? Or do we pick and choose from the Quran? Did you not read what Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has said in the Quran? where he says, وَمَنْ يَدْعُ مَعَ اللَّهِ إِلَهًا آخَرَ لَا بُرْهَانَ لَهُ بِهِ فَإِنَّمَا حِسَابُهُ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِ. Did you not read where Allah Ta'ala says, and don't call, or those that call upon another deity other than Allah Ta'ala. Another deity other than Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. They have no burhan, they have no proof for what they do. فَإِنَّمَا حِسَابُهُ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِ. And Allah surely will judge them for this action. Did you not read the other ayat that come and explain what Allah Ta'ala is trying to say when He says, and don't call upon? Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, when He says the word call upon, He's not meaning don't say their names and put ya in front of it. Oh. He means don't worship anything other than Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. For if you call upon something else with the belief that this thing has the ability fully to harm you and benefit you independently from Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, that is the true meaning of worship, as we said. But when I'm calling upon Amir al-Mu'mineen, that's not the i'tiqad, that's not the belief, my brothers and sisters. That's not the belief. And this is the danger, my brothers and sisters, of taking the Quran, picking and choosing, and doing tafsir with our intellect, as we spoke about a few nights before, where we try to derive and deduce meanings from the Holy Quran with what we think and believe. And here, my brothers and sisters, we see that Sayyid al-Hakim alayhi salam, alayhi salamullah, alayhi rahmatullah, Sayyid Muhsin al-Hakim, he found a way to show the other side that by taking the Quran literally in this sense, when you say call upon, khalas, call upon, that's it. That's what it means and that's what it has to mean. It didn't mean something else. He found a way to show them that if you want to do this, then your biggest scholars are going to hell. The narration says Sayyid Muhsin al-Hakim was also invited to go to Hajj. And so he sits beside none other than Ibn Baz, sahibna. And Ibn Baz was blind. And so Ibn Baz, he sits beside Sayyid al-Hakim. And Sayyid al-Hakim was respected even by our Sunni brothers and sisters because he was considered to be the Za'im, the grandest individual in the Shia world at the time. And so he was invited to Saudi Arabia. He sat beside who? Who did they put him beside? Ibn Baz. And so Ibn Baz, he says, why do you take the Quran, or why do you not understand the Quran literally? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying in the Quran, mathalan, that you should not call upon anything other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so why do you say Ya Ali? Why do you say Ya Rasulullah? Why do you not understand the Quran literally for what it says? Allah ta'ala says He has a hand, khayy. He has a hand. So Sayyid al-Hakim looked at him and he says, if that's the case, you're going to hell. Why? Allah Ta'ala says in the Quran, وَمَنْ كَانَ فِي هَذِهِ أَعْمَى فَهُوَ فِي الْآخِرَةِ أَعْمَى وَأَضَلُّ سَبِيلًا. And whoever was blind in this world is surely blind in the other world, and he will be led astray. With that, we will end for tonight with Allah sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.